What's going on, everybody? Travis Witherspoon, Trade with Travis, Carter Cow Capital. Thank you for being able to watch this video, which is the Trade of the Week this week. This is September 19th. What we're going to end up doing is talking about two different pairs. The two different pairs that we're going to end up talking about, the first video is going to end up being on the US Swiss franc. The second one is actually going to end up being on the Australian dollar, United States dollar. Like always, if you're part of our mailing list, you end up getting these sent over to your email. All you have to do is just make sure that you end up going to cartercowcapital.com/start here to be able to get a part of these pairs. If you got into the actual trade of the week last week, which was the NAS 100, then you actually end up making a good portion of this movement straight to the downside, because we end up calling out exactly what the spot was going to end up being based off of this counter trend line break down to the downside, and still working off of that one. If you have not seen that video yet, all you have to do is just go up to the description, and I'm pointing up here. It should be up there. I have it timestamped to where you can be able to take a look at that. There's still more opportunity as the market is basically going down to that point. So let's get into this video, which is going to end up being on the US Swiss franc, and then after that we'll go ahead and move from there. Like always, we end up taking a look at a few different things when it comes down to being able to get in for trades. We'll look at time frame alignment, we'll look at overbought and oversold zones based off of the daily, and then after that, if it passes those two things, then after that we'll look at entries based off of the 2 hour. We can be able to take a trade. If it's not there, then we don't look at it, and all of our trades that we end up looking at have over a 80% chance to be able to create profit when it comes down to probability of success. So giving a backstory and being able to take a look at what ended up happening with the United States dollar index before we get into what's happening with this overall pair, as my son is tapping me on the shoulder. Going to end up placing him on the screen as we go from there. So you take a look at this from a weekly perspective. We can see that the weekly has broken out of this consolidation area, in which we've been talking about that a little bit earlier for the overall move. Now, what is expected anytime that you end up having a breakout is typically a retest. Because we end up having this breakout, because of this, we're looking for a retest, and if we end up taking a look at the retest will end up happening off the daily. So it ended up breaking out on Friday based off of that overall movement. Honestly, we end up having a counter trend line break that ended up happening right around 7 to 10 business days. Typically, remember, when the market's in a buy zone, you will typically end up seeing that. Now, with that being said, the market will open up inside of the sell zone, so it does not make it a trade that I'll be looking at being able to get into right when the market opens up on Sunday. But what I would be looking at is how this market is going to end up reacting once the market gets into the sell zone and it starts getting into the pull phase, because we will see a little bit of retracement. The question will be, will it stay around that 11,962 area? And if it does, and gives us a chance to be able to catch it right when it retests and start to push back up, then after that we will start to continue looking at this overall trade to the long-term movement to the upside. Now, what does that have to do with the United States dollar Swiss franc? Well, that's a great question. You take a look at what's happening with the weekly. We end up getting into this pair. We talked about this as being our first trade of the week when we first got this started literally about 3 months ago now at this particular point. This was the first pair. If you're still in that trade from that overall movement, you got in at this particular arrow right here down at the bottom, and you should be basically waving all the way through it. You're up 300 points at this particular point in time. Remember, US Swiss franc is typically a slow pair. However, we know that we see that same breakout of a consolidation area, just like what happened with the United States dollar index. We're taking a look at this from a daily perspective. This market has not gotten to the sell zone as of yet, which means that what I do expect is that for people that are looking at being able to scalp, you may end up finding some 2 hour D extensions that you can be able to get into to be able to catch the market while it's slowly moving towards the upside first. And then after that, for the people that are looking at being able to trade this long term, I will wait and try to see what happens when the market gives a little bit of a retest and see if we can catch it right around that 92.40 area. And then after that, look to be able to buy it long term towards the extensions. Now, let's keep this in mind. If you are in this pair already and you have been trading this already, then there's a couple positions to be able to pay attention to for us being able to get out. The first one is the daily D extension at 94.70. At this particular point, that's right around 120 points to be able to wait for us being able to get out. And then after that, there's a weekly D extension at 95.80, which is expected to be hit along the way while you're making this move. So overall, I would not look at being able to get in on this on Sunday. What I will look at being able to do, just like what we talked about with the consolidated pairs last week, just to be able to wait and see how this market reacts is off at 92.40. If it gives you a chance to be able to get in at 92.40, then you have a chance of being able to make a trade and you will still get those points. If you miss it, then obviously it's a blown opportunity and you just find another one to be able to get into you may want to end up keep on looking at what's happening with NAS 100, because NAS 100 is in a push zone. Anytime that the market is in a push zone, typically you will start to see a lot of people start to trade towards the downside. If you like what we end up doing, please make sure that you like the Carter Cow Capital business page. Please make sure that you subscribe to Trade with Travis on YouTube. If you're looking at this from a live stream, you want to get into one of our live stream perspectives that we end up doing each and every week, you can catch us on Sunday at 4 p.m. To 4:30, or Monday at 8 o'clock to 8:30, and then after that on Wednesdays at 9:30 to 10 o'clock p.m. when it comes down to that. Like always, plan your trade, trade your plan. Everyone, good luck on you when it comes down to this trade.